under duress. Of course, I had never heard that before, and we didn't have iPads at that point. So I was hoping he was going to tell me. Luckily, he did. He said it was the calm to make the right decision, the cool to execute flawlessly, and the confidence to inspire the people who are around you who need you the most. So I called my mother that night, and I told her all about my first day. And what I told her was, I want me some of that. What I realized was I'd never heard the words, but I'd experienced it in my family. It is what made my home, my family, the place to come when you were in trouble or in need. Okay, now I really want me some of that. So I asked my mother the question, how is it that I will acquire that skill? How will I gain equanimity under duress? She said, don't worry, sweetie, it will find you. Well, truer words were never spoken. Just a short few weeks after that, my then heartthrob, my now husband and soulmate for nearly 40 years, was diagnosed. Yes, somebody ought to ring the bell. Well, he gave me a call. The call came in early afternoon, and he said that they had found a lump on a routine examination where he was in law school. They thought it might be cancer. That was on a Wednesday. On Friday, he would have surgery to know the answer. So there was his mother and myself, her smoking and pacing, me allegedly studying and crying, her praying for her firstborn and me for my first love. And of course, when Dr. Mulholland came out, he gave us the answer. It was what we feared most. It was cancer. And it was terrible for us. But Dr. Mulholland said he's young and he's healthy, and we think we caught it early, so we think everything will be okay. But I was still a waste. I cried. I couldn't concentrate. I was pitiful. So a few weeks in, as he was preparing to do radiation therapy, I called my mother and said, I decided to quit medical school to take care of Randy. She said, mm-mm. That would be enough. That would be enough. So, okay, so, well, what can I do? And she said, you will get through this. So, you know, I'm whining, and I can't do this, and I can't do that. She said, what happened to that equanimity you were looking for? Get up, stand up, you can do this. And she was right. As the spring wore on, I finished my first year of medical school, and Randy was better. The next call came in early evening. It was my father, who said my mother had fallen and was at Annapolis General Hospital. Please come. Well, my mother had not fallen. She had had a very significant stroke, from which she ultimately died. So I thought I would fall apart. But oddly enough, I remembered her words in a lifelong of teaching, and I held up well. And Maureen's mother, and Karen, my other cousin's mothers, the greatest critics of all, said I had done an amazing job. I could not have been prouder. I had actually managed through the most difficult challenge of my life. And by the end of summer, I was ready to go back to medical school. In October, the call came in the wee hours of the morning. It was my classmate, Ray, study, partner, champion for me in that first tumultuous year. He had been killed tragically in a car accident. Oh. My classmate had called and said, you know, we're going to gather tomorrow morning. Please be there. I picked up the phone, though. I needed a little extra so early in the morning before I left for medical school, I called my mother's office. And one of her coworkers answered the phone, and I was like, hi, Miss Mary, how are you? She chatted for a while, and I said, may I speak with my mother, please? There was dead silence at the other end of the phone. Of course, at that point, I realized what I had done. So she said, she finally, God bless her, broke the silence. She said, baby, are you okay? I said, yes, ma'am. But the truth was I was anything but. So she promised me it would be okay. She promised me that I would be able to make it. She promised me that my mother was looking out for me. So I hung up, and I said, you know what? Even I know when it's time to quit. Surely there is some victory in knowing when to step down or at least take a risk. So I wrote a letter that I was leaving medical school, just for a sabbatical, and off to Howard I went. Going across the breezeway, who was coming the other way? Dr. LaFall. He said, Dr. Lewis, where are you going? You're going in the wrong direction. Is everything okay? Well, that's all it took for me to spill my guts and tell him my plan. So in the middle of all of that, he turned me around and walked me back into the hospital. He told me he thought I would be an amazing healer. He told me I had demonstrated enough strength for a lifetime already in a year, that surely I could do this as well. And before I knew it, we were standing outside of the lecture hall. And he left me there and said simply this: patients are waiting for you, doctor. And went away. He didn't even look around to see if I would go in. Because he knew. So I did go in. I went in for the hour and for the day, for the weeks, for the months, and finally for the years, and graduated from medical school. So the story for me was this in the transition, and that is truly equanimity under duress is something that will get you through anything. And remember that equanimity is not for you. It is for the people around you who rely on you. And so what an amazing lesson for me then, but for me now, as we face incredible economic hard times as a society, as a people, and for many of us right now today facing unimaginable challenges. I wish each and every one of you an amazing holiday season and equanimity under your duress.